All right, it says I'm live. We'll find out. You're going to be the judge of that. Hey, if you're out there, somebody sign in. Let me know that the audio and the video is okay. Need audio and video check. Michael Bunker here in the frigid south of Central Texas. Hopefully you guys are out there. I'll give you some time. This is a live video, so I'll give time for people to pile in here. Everybody push in. Push in. Come on into the comments section. Type in where you are, your name, say hi, etc. Greetings to everybody. I hope this is working. Let me know if the audio and the video are okay before we get started. I just need a video audio check from whoever's out there. Sometimes it takes a while for the comments to get here. So everybody push in if you're out there. Push into the comment section. Wherever you are. We're on 3 Facebook pages. We're on, I can't remember, YouTube, Periscope. We're on Twitch. Wherever you are, come into the comments section and just type in hello and tell me where you are, etc. All right. Lewis says that the sound and the video are good. All right. Hit the like button wherever you are, too. Kim is in Pennsylvania. She says all sounds good. Dan, I don't know where Dan is, but he says it sounds good. All right. Let's get the box thing done and we'll get rolling. If I can get it done. It's been a while. Oh, Frank is here from down the road, and he says things are good. Ethan's here. I think he's in Alaska. Oh, Dan is in Buckeye, Arizona. All right, Dean Bradley's here. All right, you guys, come on in. Say hi wherever you are. Just want to say hello. My name is Michael Bunker. This is the Bunker Nation, where we think and thrive. I'm going to be your host for the evening. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but just so you know, it is cold still. It's cold down here in Central Texas. I have no idea what the temperature is, but inside here, it's probably around 30-ish. I don't have any heat down at the office, and for right now, I don't want it. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on the last week, the freeze, preparedness, what people should be doing, what's going on, what the solutions are. My eyes are red. Have no idea why. I'm very, very tired. Didn't sleep a whole lot last night. Got up at 3:15, my usual time. Went to the gym with Mrs. Bunker. It was 9 degrees. Really, really cold. It was 32 inside the cottage. And so we're coming out of it. Today was very nice. It was beautiful outside. Sunny. Temperature got up a little bit. We were able to get the cottage up into around 60 at some point during the day with the wood burner going. Hava's here. Thank you all for praying for me. By the way, I want to thank everybody out there for your care, for reaching out during the ice apocalypse. I think I got 100 messages from people asking how we're doing, concerned about us, and all that. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. I find it a little strange because if anybody in the whole ice apocalypse who's going to be okay, it was going to be us. We've lived this way for a long time, but it was very cold for anybody. This was a cold event for people in Texas like we have not experienced in any of our lifetimes, at least. I've been in some severe cold weather. I've taught cold weather survival classes. It was miserable. It was not fun. We did embrace the discomfort, but that doesn't mean that we like it. Frank says, I always wanted to go to Alaska for a year and get snowed in for the winter. Well, you did. You got to do it. You got to go to Alaska for a week. You got snowed in. So we're going to talk a lot about that. If you have questions or comments, get them into the comments section. We've got a lot of things we're going to talk about. And so I wanted to address a few things. Again, thank you for everybody. For those of you who are future people will be watching this on the recording on YouTube in the future. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you guys watching the show. Only about 40% of you now are subscribed to the channel. Please subscribe. The more people that subscribe, the more people hit the like button, the more people leave comments on YouTube, the more YouTube will recommend this material to other people. And so that's kind of a good thing. We want the show to grow. And it is growing. It's just growing very slowly. Daniel's here up in Michigan, reporting for duty. He says he missed being told how dumb he is on a live broadcast. Well, welcome to the show, Daniel, you big dummy. So again, this was an event, and I have to early on deal with the people who don't know any better, numbskulls, mostly Yankees, who think that somehow we're soft because we are not prepared for this type of ice event, this type of cold. It's ridiculous and it's stupid that I have to constantly do that. I have to do it during the summer too. And people have no idea that different areas are acclimated not only to different things, but they're prepared for different things. We do not have an infrastructure, and it would be stupid for us to have an infrastructure that's designed for the temperatures that we saw this week. It would be expensive, it would be ridiculous, and it would almost never be needed. And so to pay that much money to have that type of infrastructure, in other words, we don't bury our pipes very deep. We don't have a freeze line. There's a lot of things. We don't have trucks that move the snow. The government is not the main arbiter of whether or not we get to work. So things are different, and because of that, when a bizarre weather event happens, things like this happen. Now, it was not handled particularly well, and we're going to get talking about that. There was a lot of people offering solutions. A lot of those solutions, hello, Facebook user. A lot of those solutions are worse than the problem and would be worse than the problem. I saw a good video today by Dan Crenshaw. Y'all check that out. Dan Crenshaw did a good video kind of explaining what the problem was. I don't particularly agree with his solutions very much because like all solutions in the modern society, the solutions start in midair. They don't ever address the real problem. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that today. But his main explanation was for everybody to just kind of calm down a little bit, take a look at what really happened. This was not the fault of windmills freezing. Everything froze. The gas plants froze. Everything froze. There was some mismanagement, some mishandling of things. There were ridiculous things that happened where entire areas that didn't have any type of physical problem with their power were shut down without explanation for very long, for 47 to 52 hours during a very, very dangerous event. But like we do here on the Bunker Nation, we're going to talk about how to think and how to thrive. And so I need to lay a foundation for you. All right. Electricity is not a thing. What I tell you guys all the time. The thing is not the thing. Electricity is a solution to problems. It's a solution. It's a solution that failed. It wasn't a problem in and of itself. It's a solution that failed. So that's the way we have to look at it. The way that modern people examine issues when something happens is they go, okay, they start in the middle of the problem in midair and they go, we had electrical power plants that went off grid. We had a massive rolling blackouts, mandated blackouts. How do we make it where this will never happen again? And to me, that's the exact wrong way to look at the issue. And so I want to offer you some alternative ways of thinking about it. Now, that is a way that the modern man looks at it. And so if you start in midair and you say, okay, the problem was the electrical grid in Texas, then the solutions are always going to be governmental. They're always going to be more onerous than they need to be. They're always going to make things worse because the actual problem is never addressed. The solution is what failed, and the solution is ubiquitous, on-demand, inexpensive, always available electrical power. That is a solution. What is the problem that solution was designed to address? The problem is, how do we eat? How do we stay warm? The problems are, how do we take care of our families? How do we have comfort? How do we not get stressed? How do we not ever suffer discomfort? These are the list of problems. So we actually have to look at the problems. If you look at the problems, the solution is not always what you think it is. Just think about this for a minute. What if in Texas, instead of 30 million dependents, who are relying on an unreliable solution. And let me tell you something. Electrical power will always be an unreliable solution. The answer for most people is, how do we make it where we're more dependent on it? So people are not saying, how do I deal with the problems, the list of problems? If this was a real show, the problems would appear here. How do I deal with the problems without being dependent on an undependable solution? So let me just offer this to you. What if 30 million people in Texas, or even a large percentage of those people, were prepared to deal with a week without electrical power during one of the coldest snaps we've had in 100 years? What if it was possible that instead of everybody screaming, why did this happen? Why do we have power? We have babies. We have nursemaids. We have old people. We have cars. We have to get to work. We got to have heat. People are going to die. If everybody wasn't screaming, but if everybody had, over the last, I don't know, their whole lives, learned solutions to the problems that don't rely on more of the undependable solution. I'm not asking for a doing away of electricity. This is not some kind of appeal for people to all go off grid. You can stay on the grid. You have my permission to stay on the grid. Is it possible that you could stay on the grid and take responsibility for what you're going to do if that grid is not available to you? The problems still exist. The solution that's been offered to you is on-demand, instant electrical power and all that brings with it, including expense and danger and everything else. And to have that all the time available and have it never, ever go bad. The only way to ever have that happen, and it wouldn't happen anyway, is for you to hand over any semblance of financial, economic, and natural rights so that a omnipresent father figure could make sure that you are never discomforted. So my solution is not wild. It is not saying everybody go cut off your power at the street and stop using laptops, stop using computers, stop using phones, stop using all that stuff. It's saying, what if you took a portion of the amount of time and energy and money you spend on expendables, and you made sure that you and your family and your neighbors could provide for yourselves and take care of yourselves over an extended period of time without the solution that is undependable? Is it possible that a large portion of us could do that and not sit there and scream for somebody else to come in and fix things in a way that we're just going to hand over more of everything we've already handed over, which is our soul as an existence as free human beings, because we want daddy to take care of us all the time? The only solutions that are being offered is more daddy. Even arch conservative Dan Crenshaw's solution, which I think is a great solution if you sign off on all the presuppositions, is Gen 4 safe nuclear power. I think it's it's probably the best solution out there if you determine that that's what we want. That's what we want as a people, is we no longer want to be responsible for ourselves and and I understand people are suffering. I understand that there's a lot of hardship out there. This is the time for you to think. You're right, War Dog. More daddy is not the solution. I saw some great examples of people taking care of their neighbors, of people being creative. I talked to a man at the gym at 4 o'clock this morning who became creative. He does a lot of cooking. He had a wood-burning stove. And in Texas, when we say cooking, we mean barbecue. And then he went and got a generator from his shop, and he was able to hang curtains so that they could heat a small portion of the house. And I saw a lot of solutions. I saw people offering each other food, offering each other places to go. We have other friends that went and stayed with people who had the ability to produce heat and light and that sort of thing. We saw people on Facebook offering firewood, delivering firewood to people. Let me hold up real quick. I'm seeing some questions. Richard says, what was the cool stove you had in the greenhouse? I'm trying to think of the name of it. I think it's kind of like Porta Heat. It's actually from the 1960s. There's a town not far from here, maybe 60 miles, called Winters, Texas. I don't even know if they're made anymore, but it's a very simple device. It's only a box. It's louvered on the front for the heat to come out. And on the inside of the box is square, but on the inside of it, there's a curved piece of metal that directs the heat from the sterno out at you. That's what I will find out what the name of that was for you, Richard. All right. And so remember, we're teaching you how to think. How do you think here? Electricity was a solution to a series of problems. Nobody is addressing the problems. They're addressing the solution. How do we fix the solution so that that solution is more stable? And I'm telling you, the answer to that is going to be a net negative for you and your freedom and everything else. What we need is people to actually look at the list of problems. And the list of problems is, how do we cook? How do we have heat? How do we have light? How are we able to provide food for ourselves and our neighbors if we have a extended disruption in the just-in-time delivery of goods and services? You have heard me say this every day that I've been on this show for however, some of you have listened to me for 20 years. And I look like I've been doing this for 20 years. What you need to do is you need to start thinking about what you can do right now. Take notes. Okay, so I had a question that came in earlier before the show, and I want to go to it real quickly because it addresses this in some level. Good friend Amy, I have a question in advance. Reading about people who have physical issues being in a cold house for several days, but you guys got pretty darn cold in your house. Yes, we did, and thrived. I don't know if we thrived, but we did all right. Do you attribute it to mental strength or acclimation or just strategies to deal with it when others can't? Just trying to understand how it's survivable for you, but dangerous for others. All of these things are true. Mental strength is certainly a part of the issue. Acclimation and strategies are all part of it. Here's the thing. I understand that there is a small percentage of the population who is not, because of some physical problem, are not going to be able to just suck it up. They're just not going to be able to just handle the cold the way that we do. We've been doing this for 16 years, and I'm not asking anybody to embrace discomfort in the same manner that we've done it. And we have done it by acclimatizing ourselves because we live for 16 years in all of the seasons. We don't stay in a 72-degree cocoon every day, only leaving it for seconds at a time to leave our air-conditioned house, to go to our air-conditioned car, to drive to our air-conditioned job, or in the winter to go from our heated house, from our heated garage to our heated car to our heated job. What we do is we actually experience the changes in weather. We become acclimated to living at a colder temperature in the winter and a warmer temperature in the summer. And I've done shows like this when it's 105 degrees for 6 or 7 or 8 days in a row. So most of you who have been following me for very long, you know this. There are a small, tiny percentage of people who are not going to be able to do that because of some physical handicap. But let me tell you, anytime you give modern humans an out, so anytime you say, okay, there's a percentage of the people who this doesn't apply to, every single person listening, with some exceptions, are going to say, well, that's my out. I just have the physical inability to deal with cold. Mrs. Bunker hates the cold. She doesn't do well in the cold. She has very low blood pressure, and so the cold is very painful for her, and she doesn't deal with it very well. And yet she has learned strategies and the ability to realize that there's going to be some discomforts, and she has to deal with those things. One of the things is that you're not trying with your alternative heating source to heat your whole house or your whole, just like this man I talked to today at the gym. You're heating a small area, even if it's only a couple of square feet, where people can come and warm up, and then they can go back around throughout their day. The second thing is to stay physically active, to make sure you're moving a lot. Unless it gets to 15, 20 below, you are not in real serious, and you don't get wet. You're not in real serious risk of dying from the cold. Most people are not. If you're at all mentally engaged, you can dress in layers. You can get under the covers when you get really cold. You can produce fire. You can produce some kind of warmth using alternative methods. Now, I've been teaching here for 20 years, the bunker principle. Everybody who's watching this show watches it all the time, can tell me the bunker principle. And the bunker principle is this: always have 3 ways to do every mission critical thing. The first of those ways for you is your on-grid method, the way that you do it now. So if you have a gas range, a gas stove, that's your first way to do things. The second way is an off-grid way, some way that is not dependent on the mainstream electrical power grid. Perhaps you also have a propane stove with a propane canister, or you have a small kerosene stove, or perhaps you have a Coleman stove with enough fuel put away for a week or more, maybe a month. That's your second way. That's still a grid-based system. It's just an alternative grid. The third way is the way that you would need to do it and the way that your ancestors did it. Everyone who within the sound of my voice is here today because your ancestors were survivalists. Your ancestors learned to live and to survive. And they did so using very basic control of the elements. One of those elements is fire. You can create a grill outside. Maybe you already have a grill. Learn to start a fire in it so that you can cook. Perhaps have yourself a fire pit. Regardless of what the city ordinances or your HOA says, put in a small fire pit or have one that you can bring out of a shed. You can buy these things at Buc-ee's or some places, big metal fire pits with a grill on it. They sell things on Amazon, and use fire to cook. You can also use fire for heat. It's remarkable how you can do that. So asking how did we do it during this, let me tell you a little bit about my story over the last week so that you can understand it. My arms are crossed now, not because I'm cold. It's because I'm trying not to be too animated. So for years, our main source of heat in cooking was a wood-burning stove. I have a wood-burning stove here in the office that I don't use. We have a wood-burning stove up at the cottage that we have not used this year. That was our main source. And to tell you its negatives, a wood-burning stove is difficult because it takes a lot of time, a lot of man hours, a lot of work. And for us in particular, the wood-burning stove we have up at the cottage was cheap because we were poor and are poor. It's a Mexican knockoff. It was mainly sheet metal. It has a cast iron top, which is great, but the rest of it was made to look like a nice wood-burning stove, but it's pretty cheap. The firebox on it is very small. And so it has to be maintained about every 2 hours and constantly. For 15 years, Mrs. Bunker got up every 2 hours during the winter months and made sure that that fire was going so that the children could stay warm upstairs. And so that I didn't have to get up because she knew I had to work all the time. So that was her sacrifice. Now that most of the children are out of the house, we have gotten a propane stove, a propane heater, and another small propane heater for the bedroom. So our main system is our propane stove. That's our bunker principle number 1. We have a backup system, which is we have a kerosene heater, and we can cook even on the top of that. And so here's where I was weak. I realized this storm was going to be bad, but I also know I rely on the fact that we're capable of moving around and doing a lot of different things. And so I don't freak out. I didn't run out and get a bunch of propane. I did fill 1 propane canister before this thing hit. Just like I didn't run and buy toilet paper before COVID hit. I knew when I realized how long this thing was going to last and how long the shortages were going to be, we were going to run out of propane. As of right now, we have not run out of propane. We limited ourselves so that we could have it as needed. I dug a kerosene heater out of my back shed over here, and we had some kerosene, but not enough. And I knew that very likely we would run out of kerosene. And so I also knew that I was going to have to do some work, put in a half a day's labor to clean up our wood-burning stove to make it usable. Here's another thing, a negative about a wood-burning stove. There are two kinds of buildings that use wood for heat and cooking. Buildings that have burned down and buildings that are going to burn down. That's not 100% true, but if you give it a long enough timeline, if you're careful, if you're safe, we've been doing it for 15 years. If you know what you're doing, then you can go a long time without burning your house down. But eventually a generation will arise that knew not Joseph. They're not going to know how to be careful. They're going to do something dumb, and they're going to burn the house down. So there's a danger element along with that. You have to learn how to use it, and you have to be careful. This is why we have the bunker principle at play. I used the wood-burning stove as our third way. So a couple of days ago, I realized, it may have been yesterday, I realized, hey, we're going to have to use some wood heat. So I spent half a day cleaning the wood-burning stove, getting rid of a lot of creosote, scrubbing it down, getting it all ready to go, cleaning out the area around it so that with sparks or anything else didn't start a fire, gathering wood, and starting to heat up the house. So this was my responsibility. It's my responsibility. It's not ERCOT's. It's not the state of Texas. It's not Ted Cruz's. It's not Joe Biden's responsibility. It's not some agency somewhere that makes decisions about who gets power and who doesn't get it. It's my responsibility to make sure that my family, the problems that we've listed at the beginning of the show, how do you have heat? How do you have food? How do you have water? How are you able to do these things? We have water available, all that we want, because we catch water, and there was snow all over the ground, but we have a cistern that never freezes and stays about 55 degrees. Our fourth backup for heat was that we have a root cellar that's 12 feet down that is around 55 degrees this time of year, which is markedly warmer than anything else we could do other than sit in the car, which was a lot of people's solution, by the way. And people ran out of gas. The gas stations ran out of gas. It was a big mess. So there are a lot of solutions out there you can research. War Dog Heim is talking about rocket stoves are probably one of the most efficient, and we have a rocket stove, rocket mass heater in our barn, another fallback position we could have used to stay warm and to cook. All of these things are very inexpensive. They take a short time to learn. You can store them once you learn how to use them. It's more important that you know how to do these things than anything else, that you practice these things and you learn how to do them so that when the time comes that you can do it. So water we had no problem with. We knew there was not going to be a problem with it. Our water barrels that were above ground froze solid. One of our water barrels got so heavy it flipped over. Mrs. Bunker came over today and said, would you pick up that water barrel? I said, that water barrel weighs 400 pounds. It's not going to get picked up till it melts. And so you have to learn how to do these things. We knew we were going to have water. We knew we were going to have food. How did I know we were going to have food? First of all, there's food all around us. It walks around at night and it gets caught in traps. There's also food in our root cellar. We just butchered 4 pigs in the last 6 months. We have another cow that's at the butcher right now, but we've got cattle on the hoof. We got sheep and we have chickens and we have all that kind of stuff. I'm not telling everybody out there to go start a farm. I'm saying you have to think about these things. You have to write down the problems. What is the problem? Water, heat, light, food, those sorts of things. And then find a solution using the bunker principle so that you have 3 ways to do all of these things. The third way is the way that has been done for thousands of years successfully that will keep you and your family alive, if not comfortable. How do we deal with the comfort issue? I'll get to that in just a minute. And so what you need to do is start doing these things. Write them down on paper. Do not give up on this like you did back when COVID first started and people were freaking out and you couldn't get toilet paper and everybody freaked out and then people went back to sleep. Exactly like I said they would. this leads me into a discussion on the reliability of the system in general, of society. Society is a problem. Shortages are now a way of life in this country. For the most part, we are a third world country that is just now manifesting itself. Because of our bad political decisions, because of the fact that people continue to send people to positions of power who have no other desire but then to create more and more dependence, we have a system that is becoming a third world system. And what do I mean by that? I mean that shortages are going to become the norm. I had a long conversation with a good man today in his shop, and we were talking about this very thing. And he said it was shocking to see that America basically has become a country where people are spending a good part of their time looking for things that are becoming in short supply. That's going to happen more and more. And I've been telling you about this for a long time. So, you have to learn how to do this stuff, and you have to learn that the society is going to get worse, not better. The more we look at these problems and we go, okay, well, the solution is that we need to have a bigger, more powerful agency in charge of making sure that I am never below or above 72 degrees, that there is always a hot pocket within reach. We got to stop thinking that way. Stop looking at the electrical system as anything other than a solution that is undependable, because it is undependable and it's always going to be undependable. And there are people out there who know this, who've lived this way a long way, and they listen to me and they go, why is this guy saying stuff that everybody knows? If everybody knew it, we wouldn't have the problems that we're having. We wouldn't be having a national discussion about this. But when you have a national discussion, you're basically admitting to the fact that society is going to decide what the solution is without ever addressing the problems. They're only going to look at the solution that failed and say, how do we make sure this solution doesn't fail again? It's impossible. Let me tell you a couple of things that you might want to think about that probably has not entered into the ether between your ears in the last, week. What we've just seen in the last week is what's going to happen all over the world if the Yellowstone caldera explodes. It's called a winter, a volcanic winter, and it's happened before, and we're overdue for it. It is very likely that in the lifetime of many of the people listening to me right now, that caldera out there in Yellowstone Park is going to explode, and we're going to have a winter that's going to last 2 years, and it's going to make what happened in the last week look like nothing. It'd be a very good idea for your family to start thinking about these solutions without doing anything so radical as to, not participate in the electrical grid anymore like I have done. You can still participate in the electrical grid, just stop being dependent on it. Just stop it. That's my slogan for the show. Just stop it. Stop being dependent on something that's undependable. It just makes sense. This is just reason being displayed before you. The second thing you might want to think about is that there are other places in this world that they don't like you very much. Most of America doesn't like you very much either. But an EMP is very likely. I wrote a book about it called Wick. Check it out. I've got one here. I should hold it up. This is the way people on these shows that actually make money on these shows. This is my book, Wick. And it talks about stuff just like that. In fact, the beginning of this show, the beginning of this book, is a guy walking through Manhattan after a natural disaster who nearly freezes to death. So an EMP very likely could take out the national grid in a pretty permanent kind of way. Very likely could be permanent. These things are not outside shots. This is what I really want you to take away from this. What you've seen in the last week is not an outside shot of something that's not going to happen again for 100 years. And if you're sitting back there going, boy, we got through that one, and forgetting the last year of your life, you're making a grave mistake, and you're probably too stupid, and it's possible that nature is removing you and your family line from the gene pool. Don't be an idiot. the things that are happening are going to continue to happen. Shortages are going to continue to happen. You need to have skills, you need to have tools, you need to have supplies, and you need to live in a manner in which that you are not subject to the whims and caprices of wicked men and governments and the weather. Live in such a way that you are actually living like they will exile you to if you get canceled. I told the guy in the store this morning that was asking me some questions, I said, what are they going to do when they cancel me? They're going to tell me I have to live out in the wilderness and raise my own food and kill animals for food and crap in a bucket? That's exactly what they'll do. That's what happened. That's what exile was like in the Soviet Union. So, and it was pretty cold there too. Read books, practice, learn how to do things, study, and improve your survivability using your intellect. You have the ability to do this. It's not difficult. It's not overly expensive. I'm poorer than anybody else watching this show, almost certainly. And we do these things. Today, we went out with a bucket and gathered up fallen wood to put in our wood stove so that we could stay warm. And we got the cottage up to about 60 degrees. I do want to get to the psychological element in just a minute. Let me look through the comments. If you have a question or a comment or something you want to talk about, get on in here. We're going to talk about it. I hope I've not hurt anybody's feelings, especially the dumb people. All the dumb people, I hope I haven't hurt your feelings. I'm trying to help you. All right. Yeah, New Orleans, Katrina was a big issue. Historically, what we consider natural disasters have been local in nature in our lifetimes. Katrina was local in nature, and so there was a whole world out there ready to mobilize to send aid. This disaster over the last week was a localized disaster for the most part, and there's a world out there some people who want to help and want to send aid. When 4 hurricanes in a row hit in Florida, people in Texas mobilized and sent food, water, people, dogs, and everything else to help and to get people out of that problem. The disasters that are coming, including the move towards global socialism, is going to be global, and there's not going to be anybody out there to come to your aid. It's very likely if a massive EMP hits, or if we get in a war, or if any of those things happen, or the Yellowstone caldera, which is overdue, blows and we end up in a 2-year winter, then there's not going to be anybody coming to your aid. The time is now to start applying the bunker principle, start using the term, using hashtag bunker principle, use it with your family, and as you go through your day, go, is this a mission critical thing? Is going to the bathroom mission critical? How am I going to do this thing if I am not are you just going to start going in the street? Is that what you're going to do? For a while, you can melt water and put it in. I have another friend who was living in Austin. He was melting snow. Did I say melt water? Melting snow so he could have water so he could flush his toilets. Start thinking about other ways that you're going to have to do these things. You need 3 ways to do every mission critical thing. And you need to have levels, and you need to be confident in those things. And let me tell you what this does for you. It gives you confidence. It makes you a stable force in your community and to your friends and to your neighbors and to your family. It makes you not the nut that they thought you were. It makes you a sound, reasonable person who wants to help other people. I am not saying dig a hole in the ground for you and your family and like a blast from the past and go underground and wait for this all to get over. I'm saying prepare yourself mentally and physically, get the right tools, get the know-how, practice, go camping, turn off the power for a day or 2, try being out in the cold for a while, try being out in the heat for a while, start exposing yourself to a little bit of discomfort, acclimating yourself to it, and learn how to do these things, and you will be a confident person who has abilities and skills that are valuable. Krakatoa, that's right, Wardogheim. All right. 2 years is very optimistic for Yellowstone. I was trying to I don't want people to hear what could happen and just give up, because that's what a lot of them have already done. All right, let me scroll up here and see what I'm missing. Do not fall for the idea that the second level of the bunker principle is perpetually maintainable. This is somewhat what Texas just found out. Sustainable power is not sustainable. It's just X amount of days that are extended from what everybody else experiences. It's possible your wind generators, your generator, you might be able to hear the pleasant hum of my generator going in the background. Not because I use it at all during this week, I did not, but because I need it to be able to do this show right now, because everything froze and there was no solar power. I had a little bit of solar power today, but it went off about 6 o'clock. So the generator is humming for that reason. The generator is not a sustainable long-term solution to anything. What is a sustainable long-term solution is to learn these skills and to have a third level, which is the traditional off-grid level. All right, my good friend Jim Butcher's here. Get tough, man. It's only 400. What's 400? Is that Kelvin? Is it 400 degrees Kelvin? All right, a few 96s. I just wanted to chime in. For us poor people can make a wood-burning stove out of a coffee can. That's true. You can also make a mass rocket heater out of mud. An old barrel, that's what we did, and some used piping. Look it up on YouTube. There's great stuff on YouTube about stuff like this. All right. What am I missing up here? Porta-heat. All right, that was the name of that little heater. I'm not going to say that's going to heat up a room. It's not. What it will do is give you some stability so that there's a place you can go and put your hands and warm your hands up so that you can get back to work, doing whatever else you need to do to heat up. Activity is a great way to stay warm, and that's what I did over the last 3 or 4 days. Wardogheim says, Grandma heated part of the house, and you come in out of the sub-zero to thaw out and then head back out. That's right. That's what I did today. I mean, this week. Right. Watch the show alone, and you'll see multiple contestants take the out due to those factors. A lot to say about that. That's true. All right. If you have questions or comments, let's get them in right now. I've kind of said my piece. I wanted to talk about the psychological issue. First of all, as human beings, we were designed to experience stress, and I have whole shows where I've talked about that. Every day, you are designed to put your foot against the earth and press against it so that you can stand up, pressing all the weight that is within you against the force of gravity. This resistance strengthens you and allows you to function as a human being. Continuing to embrace resistance against the forces of devolution and entropy is what really makes us able to withstand things that are unexpected. And so practicing discomfort, when I say embrace discomfort, and it's going to be on t-shirts and merch, and you guys are going to love it. I can't wait. But I'm not saying that you make yourself love something you don't love. I'm not saying that you go get in a, jump in a frozen pool of water and just let yourself freeze to death. I'm not saying you have to love it. Here's what I do during the winter. Every day I come down here to the office, and this office is very heavily insulated, and it was designed to be that way. And if it gets down to in the 20s or the teens or below overnight, that temperature stays in this building for 6 to 12 hours. I come down every day, and I get down here, and I don't light the wood burner, and I sit here and do as much work as I can. I allow myself to shiver. Some of you may not have seen it, but I posted a picture today of me at the gym. I went to the gym today. Had not been in the gym in a week, just couldn't make it. The gym was closed. There was no power in Coleman for 48 hours or something like that. And we were surviving. We were doing survival stuff. My wife had to be taken to work. She works at a nursing home. She can't call in sick. Those people will die. They were on generators a good portion of the time. So we got her to work, and then I would come here and I would do work. and it was very cold. And I would come down here and I would experience the cold temperatures, and I would shiver. Shivering is your body's mechanism of resisting death. It's the way that your body heats itself up, but it also burns calories. So I got on a scale this morning expecting that I would have gained 7 or 8 pounds over 7 days of eating just whatever I could on the fly. Most of it was root cellar stew. My good friend, the Ponds in Australia, man, I love you guys. And I went and visited them in Australia, really good friends. Thank you for praying for us. And so I got on the scale thinking I was going to gain 7 or 8 pounds because I was eating root cellar stew 3 or 4 times a day and whatever else was available. And I thought, oh man, no exercise, no walking, no going to the gym. Man, I probably packed on some weight. And I actually had lost weight over the 6 or 7 days. And that's because I was working and I was cold and I was shivering. And shivering does not mean that you're dying. It actually does mean that you're dying. It means you're dying very, very slowly, though. Shivering means that your body's acclimating and your body's actually trying to heat itself up to keep your core warm so that you can continue to work. The more you work, the less you shiver. You don't want to sweat. Don't get yourself into a sweat. If you start to sweat, you need to slow down, cool down, and all of that. Once you have acclimated, spend an hour or 2 out in the cold, go inside and warm up. I'm not saying lay down there. And I'm not saying it feels good. It doesn't. My feet are freezing right now. I don't know what the Kelvin temperature is. Maybe my good friend Jim Butcher can tell you. But my feet are freezing. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to be down there. I'm going to do the show. It's going to take an hour or so. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to be frozen. My hands are in my pockets right now. My hands are actually pretty warm. But here's the layers that I have on right now. This is a heavily quilted coat. This was sent to me by my good friend Pat. She's on here. I saw her just a little while ago. This was either sent to me or I got at a thrift store. It's an insulated kind of a long sleeve pullover. I got my ubiquitous thing, face diaper. I got another layer of long sleeve shirt under that, and then I have another t-shirt under that. I'm not going downstairs to show you what's downstairs, but I got several layers on. Dress in layers. Get yourself to work. Gather wood. Learn a skill. Go out in the backyard, build a snowman, and then dig a pit and learn how to make a fire. Do these things. Practice them. Get good at them. They say chopping wood warms you twice. And that's true. And so learn how to do these things. But the psychological element of it is that almost everybody that says they can't stand the cold, they're not going to make it, they can stand the cold. And so here's the trick that I promised you. It's a mental trick that will work 100% when it's tried. Here's the trick. You are a ball of flesh in which is a rational soul. That rational soul is not and has never and will never be in possession of free will. Never. You've never had it. You're never going to have it. You have a will. Your will makes choices. Your will doesn't make choices. The will is the result of your choices. But you are a ball of preferences. Everything is based on your proclivities. Let me explain. When someone says, I can't take the cold, they are saying that, and I'm exempting the 1% of people that have some kind of physical disability in which they, for some reason, they can't, or they're too old or whatever it is. They are saying that they have another preference to experiencing the cold. What is the other preference? That preference is comfort, and comfort actually has trumped independence, freedom, and not being subject to evil men, evil organizations, evil things, and undependable services. Their preference is to be slaves, willing slaves, rather than to be cold. The mental trick is that when you are suffering a discomfort that you know is temporary because you're becoming skilled and you're learning how to mitigate the discomfort. is to recognize that you have traded that time of discomfort. You've received that time of discomfort in exchange for an extra helping of freedom and independence and decision, the ability to make decisions. Most of you are victims waiting to happen. In other words, you have no decisions. You will make no decisions. Decisions will be made for you. When you live in a interdependent system, a society that has determined that everybody's going to be a cog, a specialist in the wheel, then you give up all of those decisions. You let someone else make them, and in payment for giving up the freedoms, you get comfort. There's always an exchange. The comforts that you have, most of them, unless they're hard-earned and you have gotten them in a way that multiplies your independence, you have gotten them in exchange for your slavery. That's hard to take. Nobody wants to hear it, but it's a fact. And so here's the thing. When you are, this is the trick. When you choose, like we did, and I'm not saying to choose like we did, when you choose like we did, to forego the national power grid or the Texas power grid or any power grid in order to live off grid, we understood we were going to receive discomfort. We were going to receive hard work. We were going to receive anger and loss of friends. We were going to receive weird looks, mean comments. We were going to receive ostracization. We were going to receive all of these negatives. In exchange for that, we were going to also receive freedom at whatever level we can experience it. That doesn't mean we're immune to being imprisoned or exiled or whatever else, the things that are outside of our control. But we have a certain level of freedom that most people will never experience in their life. I was on a walk with my wife several months ago, and I've said this to her a lot over the years. When we're on a walk, I'll say, we are as free today as we will ever be. We will never be more free than we are today. That sounds morbid, morose maybe, but it's not. And it's hard-earned. It's hard-earned freedom. I'm not telling anybody to live like I do. You don't have to go that far. But every time you chisel away at your dependency, you are receiving in exchange for that a level of freedom. All right? You're exchanging comfort for freedom. To me, that's a pretty good deal. Some people it's not. Some people are born to be slaves. And so I'm just asking you to think about that. Use it as it's a mental trick. When I'm suffering under some discomfort because of the lifestyle that I've chosen, when I'm slogging through a third of a mile of mud and ice to get up to the road because we have to, my wife was working on the front lines of the COVID thing and I have to get her to work in a storm or whatever it is. When I'm struggling, my good friend Jim Butcher knows when you're working out, when you're resisting the devolution of your body so that you can have strength for your family, then you're resisting and you're receiving something in exchange for it. You're receiving a level of freedom. Now, I get sarcastic comments. I get angry comments still. I have had so many in the last week. Thank you, War Dog Heim, by the way. Anybody else wants to keep me free, go on down on YouTube, down to the little dollar sign right next to the comment section. Click on that. You can send $1, 50 cents, whatever you want to do. Anyways, I've received so many, and I'm so used to it now, it just rolls up. People are ignorant, and I don't expect them to think any different. And I've been in some stores, and people have made comments. Generally, it goes like this. They say, how are you handling the power being out? And I'll say, my power's been out for 16 years. However, it's been difficult for all of us. It's been cold. It's been hard. And they'll say, oh, well, you must live off grid. There's a spark. And then they'll go, I don't ever want to do that. That sounds horrible. I like my comforts too much. I like air conditioning. I've heard 1,000 times, I like air conditioning too much. Well, no one's asking you to give up air conditioning. No one's asking you to give up heating. No one's asking you to live your life naked on top of a pylon feeding your flesh to bugs. All we're saying is, wouldn't it be better if you had a level of independence that allowed you to be a help to the world around you at a time like this? Wouldn't you prefer to have a modicum of freedom to make decisions, to be able to decide, to be able to say, this is something I'm not going to do? There are so many things that are coming down the pike in your lifetime. You're not going to get to make a decision. The decision is going to be made for you because of the decisions you've already made. Some people get very mad when I point out that because of financial and economic reasons, most everybody in America hands their children over to the state that hates them and hates their ideology, hates their religion, hates their morality, to educate your children, and you do it for economic reasons. You have done it. That is a very, very painful thing for anybody to accept. I myself have made decisions, bad decisions in my life, for economic and financial reasons, and paid dearly for them. Wouldn't it be great to have some level of freedom to be able to make decisions and know that you have the ability, so far as it is within you, to resist having decisions forced upon you? So I've been going on too long. It's been 56 minutes. And so I want you to do is get your questions and comments in. Here's what you can do for me. In addition to, if you want to do a super chat, like my good friend War Dog Heim, we're at like $86 for the month. We're way behind. You can go to michaelbunker.com, which is right here, michaelbunker.com. Go up there and you can, I might be able to share it. Let me see what I can do here real quick. I'm not gonna be able to do it. All right. Anyways, go up here right around this area on the michaelbunker.com page. It says partner with Michael Bunker. You can make a donation for $1, $5, $10, $20, $50 a month, whatever you want to do to help the show grow and get better equipment. You can also buy coffee. Right up in this area, it says coffee on michaelbunker.com. Click on there, buy some of my coffee. Got more coffee coming. People are loving the coffee. For those of you who I still owe t-shirts and sweatshirts, they are coming. I talked to the guy yesterday, and I talked to the guy this morning. So we're working on the Bunker Nation hoodies, and we're working on t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. Everybody's going to get whatever they ordered. Everybody already has their coffee, but one person who just ordered. All right. So you can do that. You can donate to the show. You can help us continue to do this. I am not doing this for money. Anybody who thinks that I'm doing this for money is high. You are high as a kite. I'm down here. It's 30 degrees, and I'm here for you because I want to help you. The other thing you can do is share this show. Wherever you are, you can share it. Send somebody the link. Thank you all. God bless you. I love you all. That's why I do this, and I want to continue to do it. Hopefully, I'll be able to see you again. If not tomorrow or the next day, I'll see you soon. God bless you all. I'll see you when I see you.